Hey, what's up you guys? Aaron here from cleverprogrammer.com and welcome to the Flask crash course, all right? So this is a great tutorial. We're gonna be going over a lot of stuff in the Flask framework that allows us to build websites cleanly and efficiently without having any extra clutter. So Flask is a great framework. We're gonna be going over the file structure so that we know how to organize our website and how all the different files interact. The syntax of the framework so that we can code everything correctly. We're gonna learn how to create Flask models so that we can model real world objects in our code. Flask views so we can house all of our programming logic so that we know what code to run when certain things on the website happen. Flask templates so that we know how it displays the whole front end and everything, and also hook it all up to a database so we can have full CRUD functionality on our website. We're gonna start with a very basic Flask app. It's probably like 6 or 7 lines of code, and from there we're gonna build our way up slowly, learning all these different parts that I just mentioned, and eventually we're gonna get to a full-blown blogging app with Bootstrap enabled so that it looks very nice with a pretty front end. I'm probably gonna be showing some stuff on the screen right now with what it's gonna look like, so you kind of have a preview of what we're gonna be making. It'll be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We're gonna get into that very shortly. Subscribe to the channel, don't forget that. Click the notification bell, whatever, if people still do that. Comment, ask questions. Oh, while we're going through this course, you guys, I have the code in the description if you want to compare your code at the end. So definitely check it out if you want to download it and just compare your own code if you're following along. So definitely do that. You should definitely follow along and code along with me during this project. I mean, you can still watch it, but the code is in the description, so check it out. Hey guys, so real quick before we start, I want to tell you that we have a really cool 1 hour plus webinar that goes over the 3 secrets of how you can become a Python freelancer in 2019, 2020, and beyond. It tells you how to start making an income, even if you're a complete beginner, if you've never written a line of code before, if you don't even know what code is or any of that stuff, and how you can go from that to having a 6-figure income as a freelancer or even as a software developer at a company if you want to do that. It's still relevant. So definitely check that out. It's completely free. Just click the link in the description and you can put in your name and your email there and you'll be sent a link to get started. The team worked really hard on it. This guy, me, other people. So we just wanted to put as much value as we could into 1 hour for you guys. We shot it and we edited it and now it's free for all you guys to watch. So just go check it out. We'd really appreciate it and I think you'll really enjoy it. Hey, what's up you guys? So now let's get started with the Flask crash course, okay? But before we get into the code, I want to actually go over what Flask is if you guys don't already know that. So all Flask is a web framework, and all the web framework is just a way to structure a website. So like when you go to a certain URL, then a certain web page pops up, and then you can organize all these web pages together into a website, and you can kind of define how they're all named and all the names and stuff and how it's laid out and structured, how it's framed, I guess. That's why it's called a framework, maybe a double meaning there. But that's pretty much it. I mean, you do need to know HTML and CSS to actually design the web pages, but then and then you use that within Flask. So if you don't already know that, please go do that first. Learn HTML and CSS first, and then come back to this, and then this will be useful. And Python as well. Okay, Flask is written in Python if you didn't know that. So we're gonna be doing all that. You need Python, HTML, CSS, and then you can come to Flask. Okay. But that's pretty much it. It's a web framework. One thing I need to point out though is that it is a micro web framework, all right? And all that really means is it is super lightweight and bare bones. So it kind of doesn't come prepackaged with anything at all. It's like super lightweight. Like you can get a very simple website web page up and running in about 6 lines of code, 5 lines of code, and it takes about 60 seconds to code up. And we're actually gonna do that in a couple minutes when we get to the code part after we install it. But yeah, their design philosophy is to just kind of import things as you need them. So there's no database, there's no form validation. If you guys don't know what the things are, database just like allows you to house data, and then you can like edit that data or retrieve it or create things like CRUD operations. And then form validation is whenever you're doing like API, HTTP requests and stuff, like to make sure that the request is valid, or if you're like submitting any kind of form, then just making sure it's valid before you send it so it doesn't break the server and stuff. So Flask doesn't have any of that, okay? You actually need to import those things as you need them, as you want them, which is nice because it's very clean and minimalistic, which I like, unlike Django, which has like everything bunched in together. It has a database and backend and all of these, everything, just has everything in one. It's like one juicy package, which is cool. But Flask, you just like more, I guess you have a little more maneuverability. Yeah, I guess they have a tag on here that says web development 1 drop at a time. I never noticed that before, but that goes along with their minimalistic import as you need design philosophy. So that's cool. So this is it. Apparently Pinterest and LinkedIn are built on Flask. I didn't know that. Learning every day. Cool. And yeah, let's just jump into the code. Let's get started. So I am in my IDE here. I'm using VS Code. This is my IDE of choice. It's pretty nice, but you just use whatever you prefer, okay? First, I created a directory called Flask app. I'm just gonna be working in here and have all my files in here. But yeah, let's go down to the terminal. Let's start by installing Flask, okay? So you can do it here. You can just open up another terminal. If you don't know what a terminal is, just open up a terminal here. Same thing, but I'm just gonna use this integrated one because it looks nicer. Makes for a nicer video, you know? But you're just gonna wanna run pip install Flask, okay? And that should run. If you're getting some error, like permission errors, you could just run sudo pip install Flask. That just stands for super user do, okay? They just kind of like overrides any permission errors you might have, but we don't need to do that, okay? Because we've already installed it. So after you have Flask installed, you can type in flask -- version just to make sure that you have it installed. And as you can see, we have Flask installed. The Flask version 1.1.1, okay? And yeah, let's just get started. So let's go into here in Flask app and create a new file, all right? And I'm just gonna call it app.py, all right? Don't need that. And now we can start coding up our first Flask app, okay? So I said earlier it's gonna take about 60 seconds. It might take a little bit longer, but it's really short. It's just a few lines of code. So the first line is, of course, from Flask import Flask. We're just going to be importing the Flask library that we just downloaded, okay? That's how you do that there. And after we've done that, we import this Flask object, okay? Now we just want to create a Flask app using that Flask object. So that's how you do this, okay? You just call the Flask constructor here, and then we just create an app. I just called it app. But you do need to pop in name here. Okay, this just references this file. This is a Python thing. If you're curious, you can look into it, but you just have to do it. So just follow it. And if you want to learn more about it, you can Google it or something. But it just references this file. It's not super important right now. All right, and now we can start getting into our Flask stuff, okay? So Flask is a web framework, so we're gonna be creating websites, which is just a bunch of URLs that lead to web pages. So how do we define a URL, okay? Well, we do that by routing. So it's called a route. It's just like a URL route. So we'll just do this little thing here. It's called a decorator in Python. If you start a line with a ampersand, like not ampersand, an @ sign like that. And Flask uses this to define all of its URLs. So this is the base URL if there's absolutely nothing. So like your domain would be here. So like www.yourdomain.com. And so that's just kind of assumed, whatever you decide your domain to be once your website is actually online. But right now we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to be on the local host. But I'll show you that later. But just this means if it's just your domain with nothing after it, okay? Like www.google.com or something. That would be that. There's nothing that coming after. So if the base URL of our website is that, then we can just have a function right below it. And this code is what will run whenever we get to this URL. Pretty simple. So we'll just say, let's just do a simple hello world, okay? And you're just gonna return hello world, okay? And that's pretty much it. There's one more thing we have to do down here, just for good practice sake. We always doing this in Python, you know. So if you just want to make sure if we are running this direct from the command line, in which case the name will be main. If we're running this file directly, then we actually want to turn on debug mode, or which is pretty much developer mode, okay? Which just like allows us to have it shows us actual errors whenever an error pops up, and instead of just saying, oh, 404 error, blah, 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 it actually gives us the full breakdown so we can actually figure out what's wrong. And then also it allows us to update our server and our website on the fly, so we don't have to keep like stopping and restarting our server, okay? I'll demonstrate all this in a second. But this here is pretty much the most basic Flask app you can write, okay? You have like, we import the library, we create a Flask app, we define a route and some code to run, and then just some practice developer stuff. So yeah, let's just get this running and see what happens, okay? Go down here and we're gonna type python app.py, and there we go. So now it says debug mode is on. It says the server Flask app, we named it app, right, is running. and it's running on this local host. Okay, so 127.0.0.1 is actually just your local host. So instead, we don't have an online domain right now, like I said, like www.google.com or something, or whatever you want to, or yourdomain.com. We're just using the local host right now, but it's going to be on port 5000. So that's important. So let's just go back to our browser and paste this in. Okay, and as you can see, let me zoom in here a bit, that hello world that we typed in is displayed here. Okay, so this is the website. This is our web page. We can actually change this to localhost, okay, instead, and it'll bring us to the same page. But yeah, that's pretty much how Flask works. Okay, let's go back here. One other thing I want to mention really quick is actually if you want to handle multiple things with multiple routes with one method or one function, then you can do that. Pretty much whenever you say route, whatever function is like closest that comes next linearly in the code is the code that'll get run. Okay, so if we see this, we can actually put multiple ones here, and let's just say we have home. All right, and so now if the base index and home /home will both go to hello world like this. So we save it, and because debug mode is on, then it automatically updates our server. We'll go here and refresh this, and no changes. That worked. Or let's hello world 2. Cool. Just so we can see some changes taking place. There we go, hello world 2. But also we said if we wanted home to go to the same method, then we can do that. I keep calling method function, sorry. Home. All right. And home will also bring us to the same thing. However, if we go to some bogus URL like this and I hit enter, then you're just going to get a not found error. Okay. So that's because this path wasn't defined. If we actually define /bogus, like change this to bogus or something, then it would work. All right. So pretty straightforward, should make sense up to this point. But that's pretty much the basics and the most basic app we could make with Flask. And now we're going to start getting into a little bit more advanced stuff. All right. So I'll see you soon. All right, welcome back, you guys. So now we're gonna go into a little bit of advanced routing, just like pretty much playing around a little bit with this app route lineup here and different things you can do with it. So let's get rid of this to keep it simple. Let's go back to the base index, or actually I'll leave it as home. Okay, so let's just leave it like this. And hello world. Let's just go back here and run this. It's still working. /home is still working. All right, so what I want to show you guys is actually how you can get parameters from the URL into our code. Okay, so whatever we reach a URL, right? And then we run this function, and then this text is returned to the web page for the web page to display, whether it's HTML or raw text like it is here, whatever it is. Maybe there's some stuff in here that we want to change based on what is given in the URL. So like maybe like we want to actually like greet somebody in their name. So let's just go through it and I'll show you what I mean. So maybe a path like you want to actually be like /home/Aaron, my name, or /home/Kazi or something like that. And depending on that, you want to say like hello Aaron or hello Kazi instead. So pretty much like using variables in URL. So how you do that is you use your little brackets here, and then you define the data type and then the variable name. So just like that. So there's going to be a string called name, and then you can actually just pop in name here, and this name here and this name needs to be the same. And now we have access to this in our code. Okay, so whatever pops up here in the URL, whether it be Aaron or Kazi or any other string, then now we have access to it here. So now we can actually go here like this and actually add in something like that. Okay, so whatever is in the URL is now going to be displayed in the web page. So that's how you get stuff from the URL, like parameters and variables into our code. So let's refresh this, and we get a not found error because we didn't actually put a name. I forgot to put a name. So now let's just put name Aaron there, and as you can see, it says hello Aaron. Okay, and we can put anything we want there. Kazi will also work, or hello stupid. But yeah, so that's how you get variables from the URL into here. So this might seem a little bit redundant. I mean, like why would you need to do this? But one very useful thing that this allows us to do is pretty much for dynamic URLs. And dynamic URLs are like when you have like, maybe if you have a website where you have a bunch of different profiles, a different bunch of blog posts or images or something, and each one has an ID and the URL just keeps changing. And then you might have like int, okay, and then you could have like ID like this or something, like image ID or something, or just ID in general. And then as this thing keeps changing, then you could like have like some code here that's like, oh, display image with this ID, okay? And it makes it very simple to handle all of these URLs in one. So you don't have to like have like each one individually. You don't have to be like, oh, app route 1, right? Display image 1, and then app route 2 have a separate function, display image 2, and so on and so forth. You can just have this up here and then just pop in ID. Of course, you have to change this ID, and then you can just say, okay, based on ID. Well, this is an int, so you actually have to cast to a string before we print it. But you need to, what's going on? Oh, I have an extra parentheses here. But you need to, I lost my train of thought. That's okay. But pretty much, yeah, it just allows you to have dynamic URLs so that you can handle multiple URLs with one function, okay? And then of course you can have multiple ones of these. So you could have like home / users / string. Well, let me show you this first before I get exact. So let's just do this and show you the string as well. Oops, that's not right. Because it needs to be home / needs to be an int, not a string. So let's just put 10, okay? So hello 10, cool. But you can also have multiple ones in here. So maybe like users / string name / posts / ID, okay? So now we have name and we have ID. So like, okay, let's say we have like a website with some users, and then you have the username, and then you have all their posts, and then you have an ID of one of their posts. So it could be like hello name, your ID is something like that, and pop name back in here, and let's run this, okay? And refresh this. Oops. So we need to go to Aaron / posts. What was it? Home / users. Home / users is what we said. / the name / posts / the ID. So let's put 5. And let's hit enter. And there we go. It says, hello, Aaron. Your ID is 5 based on all the stuff in the URL, okay? And as this changes, we can easily just keep updating this, okay? And then if we actually had like images and stuff, we could like, okay, fetch this and actually return an image instead of just text. You could be like image 8, image blah, blah, blah. And as we change the URL, different images will be popping up, okay? So that's kind of the idea of dynamic URLs and routing with variables using this bracket notation here, okay? Pretty cool. And one other thing I want to go over now is actually limiting your web pages to specific request methods, okay? So let's just add another one here just for simplicity's sake, because I don't want to get too fancy on one. And let's just call this only get. There we go. That might not make sense right now, but just bear with me for a second. So get request, and you can only get this web page, okay? So I type this little thing out here, and or actually get only, or yeah, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm getting nitpicky here. But pretty much what I'm gonna do here is I want this web page to only allow get requests. So you can only get, and like it doesn't allow post or put or anything else at all. All right, only get. And you can actually specify which methods you want to be allowed. But let's just run this to see what happens. Okay, only get, like that. Okay, so you can only get this web page. So that's actually not true, because this is just a normal app route and everything. But what you can do in this route method is after after the this little string here, you can actually declare, I think it's methods with an S, yeah, methods like this, and then you can specify all of the, pretty much the HTTP requests that you will accept on this web page. So if you only want to get, then it would be like that. If you only want post, then it would be like that, okay? If you want get and post, then it would be like this. Very simple. It's just a list of all the allowed methods, okay? But since we're only allowing get here, then, well, I mean, this will still work because the get is still there. So let's just give this a shot and run this, okay? And as you can see, it still works. And let's just pop a 2 in here to prove that it's still changing. So it still works, only get. And also, if we have only just get it all, that's what I intended originally, to only be able to get this web page, then change this to 3 just to demonstrate that it's continuing to work. 3 works. But if we put post in here, all right, it's only allowing posts, but it's going to try to get, so we're probably going to get an error. See, method not allowed. So this method is not allowed for the requested URL because you're trying to get this. You're trying to get this code. Whenever you request a web page, you're trying to get it, but it's only allowing to post. And post would be like, okay, like sending something to the URL for them to save it to a database. But yeah, that's how you define your allowed request methods, and then you can limit it to certain things. Okay, so that's some fancy advanced routing stuff you can do. And now we're going to get into templating and actually doing some of the front end work, like with HTML and CSS and static files like images and blah, blah, blah in our Flask website framework. Hey, what's up, you guys? So now we're going to go over templates, okay? Templates are just pretty much the front end of Flask, a way to organize all of our HTML and CSS and like those kind of front end things and make them clean and stuff. And make it not cluttered and very easy, like just make our website easily manageable. But it's mainly for the front end, okay? This is where all our HTML code is going to be going. So I'm just going to leave these 2 things here since we code them up, but I'm just going to go back to something simple. I'm just going to actually just pop back in the base directory, okay? Just keep things simple for now. And let's call this index, and very simple. Return home page. Okay, like that. Nothing scary. Okay, let's just save this and go back to our browser here and go to the home page. And as you can see, home page pops up right there. Okay, I'm zoomed in, that's why it's so big. But this is just regular raw text. Okay, now. I think I mentioned earlier that whenever we have a function here or a route and then a function is executed on that route, whatever is returned back, it's just spit into the browser. So the browser can interpret anything. It can interpret raw text like it is right now, or it could even interpret HTML, just raw HTML. So we can actually do this, okay? We can actually just pop in some h1 tags like this. And we'll go back here, and when we refresh, we'll see that it changed to an h1 tag, all right? So this is HTML code. I mean, it's not legal because it's just like a single tag. It doesn't have all the right like protocol, all the other stuff, that HTML needs, all those other tags and stuff. But this is just like a raw tag, like it takes it XML or something, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, pretty much you can put everything you want in here. You could even do like we could do a triple a multi-line string here like this, and then actually put in your entire HTML web page in here. But I mean, that gets really messy. So this is where templates come in, okay? So because we have the ability to return anything here that we want, it would be nice to put all this stuff into a separate file, okay? And in this case, we're going to be putting it into a template file, which is just an HTML file, but they're called templates. So let's make a new folder in our Flask app, okay, and call it templates. All right, it has to be called templates. And then inside here, let's just put index.html. All right, index.html. And then let's just paste all this into there. Copy and paste. Cool. So just that for now. And home page and back here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to actually get this HTML file in here. We're just going to render this as a template. Okay, so first of all, we need to import render template. It auto-completed for me. That's nice. And then here, instead of just returning a string, we're going to be returning a function call. I mean, it's still a string, but we're just going to be calling this render template function. And this is going to just take the name of the template that we are getting, okay? And it's in a template, so it has to be in a directory called templates, okay, in order for it to find it. So it's assumed that it's within templates parallel to our app, and then index.html is inside there, okay? So let's run this now again. Well, it should already be running. Let's just refresh the page, and nothing happened as figured, but let's just put a 2 in here to signify any differences. And boom, as you can see, our template is being rendered correctly, okay? So now, let's actually fill this out to be proper HTML code. I think HTML, yeah, it looks like we can autocomplete with some dummy code or some boilerplate code. Thanks, VS Code. All right, so I mean, this is going to look exactly the same. Let's just put it as 3 and go back here and boom. Okay, but there's a little bit of formatting up there. Maybe something up here happened. I think content, yeah, all this stuff. But yeah, that's how you render a template into your Flask function. Okay, so you're just like rendering this HTML file, which is nice. But as you can see, all of this stuff up here, there's a bunch of other stuff in the HTML. So there's actually something we can do called template inheritance, which is kind of just like taking all the stuff that's common in all the web pages and putting it all into one file. Okay, so let's actually do that now. Let's call this base.html. All right, and let's copy all of this into there, because every web page needs like the doc.html, it needs this, it needs the head, it needs the body tags and all that. So why don't we just like put that all into one place, okay? Like this. And now what we can do is we can actually signify blocks in here that we want to be able to plug into. So the only things that are relevant here that are going to be changed from web page to web page are probably the name, like the title here, and the content in here. So what we can do is we can actually just get rid of this, okay? And then we can use something called Jynga 2, which comes with Flask. If you know Django, then you probably it looks kind of familiar. But we have this ability to code in things and put blocks in, and actually use like for loops and cool stuff in here thanks to Jynga. But this is how you do it. So you can actually define blocks and then give them names. So I'm just going to call this title, or not title, maybe I could call it head, whatever. And then you can actually signify a block like this. So make sure that you open and close with this bracket and parentheses, I mean bracket and % notation. And right here, this signifies a block. So now we can actually access this block wherever and input content into there ourselves whenever with whatever content we want if we extend from base.html. So let's do the same thing. Let's just copy this and paste down here, but we'll call this body instead. All right, just like that. And now let's go back to index.html, and this should all start making sense if you got lost or if I wasn't making any sense. Well, let's just delete all of this. And now what we can say is, instead of having all the HTML code, we can simply say extend. Extends with an S. That's right. Extends base.html. All right. So now this, using the Jynga 2 syntax, which is this fancy stuff here that comes packaged with Flask when you download it, then it inherits all of this stuff, everything in here, including these little 2 body things, these 2 blocks. And now within here, we have access to those blocks, so we can actually say what we want to plug into those blocks, which will automatically be plugged into here so that it's like a full-blown HTML page. All right, so let's go here and copy this. That's a little bit faster. Copy, paste, paste. Make sure this is body instead of head. All right, and boom, just like that. Now this is actually just inheriting from our base, which has all of this HTML stuff. But now we have the ability to just plug in this stuff to these two blocks. So very simple. So here, now we're going to do this again. We're going to have title. All right. Oops. There we go. Title. And then we're going to call it home page, or just home again. All right. And then in the body, again, we're going to have header tags, and then just going to call it home page and save that. Okay. And now let's go back here and refresh it. And as you can see, it changed to homepage again. And up here, the title has changed to home. All right, so that is how templates work at a very basic level. We're going to be going into some other things too. I just wanted to introduce you guys mainly to putting HTML code into other files, which is templates, and then this little Jynga syntax. And we're actually going to be getting more into this stuff, Jynga syntax, in the next segment. We talk about sending variables around from our code to templates and whatnot, in case we have, like, maybe we have some data in here, and then we want to send it to the HTML so the HTML can display that data in some way, something like that. Okay, I will see you guys soon. All right, it is now officially soon, so let's get started. So we just learned about the Jynga syntax and stuff, right? In rendering templates, so using templates and inheriting templates and being able to signify blocks and whatnot using this syntax, like extending HTML pretty much to be able to play around with it a little bit more. Now we're going to talk about how to actually pass data from here to HTML in case you want to display it or something. All right, so let's actually create another route, another web page, and I'm just going to call this /posts. Okay, like we're gonna have some blog posts or image posts or something. Maybe we can make an Instagram clone or something like that, but just posts for now. Okay, and then I'm gonna call it posts, define posts, and then return render template. All right, and then I'm going to want to make a file called posts.html. All right, and then here, remember that we can inherit everything, so I'm just going to copy this over into here. Nice. Get rid of all this stuff. Actually, maybe I'll just leave it in. I'll change this to posts. Okay, and then this I'll change to all posts. Cool. And here, render template, and then we got to fill out the posts.html. And let's just see if this is running, okay? So now that we're here, let's just go to posts, all right? And as you can see, all posts pops up, so it looks like it's working, all right. So let's go back here, and now let's actually create some dummy data so that we can actually send data from here to the HTML to see how we would do that, okay? So this is just dummy data. You might actually have real data from a real database later on, but for now, we're just going to imitate it and use dummy data, okay? Let's just go up here, and we're just gonna call it posts, all right? Or all posts. Yeah, all posts will work. And let's just make this a list, okay? And it's going to be a list of dictionaries. So dictionaries are the way that you want to structure your databases and your data here, because it allows you to easily access all the data in Jynga. I'll show you how in just a second. So let's just say, okay, if you have some blog posts, we'll just have like the title of the blog post or the name or whatever, and then we'll just say this is post 1, right, comma, and then we can say something like content. Yeah, content, and be like, this is the content of post 1. La 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 la. Cool. And then let's just copy this so that we have 2 posts. Boom, just like that. Change this to post 2 and post 2. And call that good. All right, so now we have some dummy data here. It's a list of dictionaries, and dictionaries is the way we want to structure our data. So we have this data called all posts. So let's go to, where is it? Here we go, posts. And now all we're going to do is we are going to define a variable. Okay, let's just call it posts. And it's called posts, and then we want to pass in data to this. So we're just gonna call it all posts. You can call this whatever you want, but that makes sense. So all posts is our data, and then now we have a variable called posts here. Okay, so note this blue post right here. Now when we go to post.html, we are actually going to have access to all of this data in here by using this name posts. So let's go do that, and I'll show you how that's done. All right, so let's go down here, and it says all posts, but for now I'm just going to print out one thing first. So we have access to posts, so we can actually, well, let me show you this. Jynga 2 is actually very powerful. You can signify the blocks like this, but you can also do other things. You can actually have like loops and stuff to loop over data and whatnot. So just like in Django, okay? And it's templating engine. So we can just say for post in posts, because remember posts is what we call this over here. So whatever we call this, we have to call that. But now we can just loop over it just like a Python loop. All right. And all we need to do is close it off, just like every loop should be closed off. And now we have access to each of these posts individually. Okay, so we could actually go in here and do something like h2, you know, and then go like posts. Another thing that I'll show you guys, I guess I'll show you right now. I might be going a little bit too fast, but just follow along. So this allows us to do like syntax things, like define like blocks and do things like control flow kind of things, like like move this chunk of text over here and plug this into here, or loop over this many times and yada yada. But if you use double braces like this is actually like printing out something. So what I mean by that is the post, our dummy data, each post has a title, right? And it has content. So we can actually just go in here and just go like this and use dot notation, just like that. Oops. Post.title, okay? And using this double braces like this and post.title, this will just print out the string of this post one. So it'll just print out post one here. It'll plug it into this thing here, which is very nice. So we can do that. And then also we have our content that we want to put in. So I guess I'll put that in a p tag. Yeah, that makes the most sense. And then same deal. We just want to use this, and then instead of that, it's going to be instead of title, it's going to be post.content. All right. So let's just see how this goes. So I came in here, and then we're looping over a variable that we passed in posts, and then for each one of those posts that we're looping over, we're just pulling out some data, and then we're printing it, okay, within a valid HTML tag. So let's go back to our page here and refresh it, and as you can see, these posts pop up. So it says post 1, this is the content of post 1, and post 2, this is the content of post 2, because I use h2 tags and p tags, so it looks like the formatting is all correct here. I'm just really zoomed in still. So yeah, that's pretty nice and clean. Another thing you can do is you can use if statements. Okay, so I want to show you guys that. Let's go. I think if I I think we can do this. So let's say our data might have an author for the blog post, but only but it's optional. Like maybe the author isn't available or something. So for here we'll put Aaron. That's me. And then for post 2 there will be no author. Okay, this just doesn't exist. So let's go to posts, and now we can say if there's a post here, then we also want to print out the title. All right, so we could just do this and then just try to print it out. There it is. So post.author. All right, just like that. And why don't we just give this a try and see what happens. Oops. it's complaining about something. 1 second. I think, yeah, I didn't add a comma here because I added this thing to the dictionary. Let's try again. Let's restart the server. And now let's go back to here and refresh it now. So it worked. It just ignored the data that wasn't there. So it didn't break anything, which is cool. But what if we wanted to actually like pick out if there's a author or not? Then it's probably good to check, and then you can say like, oh, it's by this person, by this author, or by author unknown or something like that. So let's just put a check in there for demonstration purposes to show you how it's done. So we're just gonna say if something exists. So if post.author exists, all right, if that exists, then you want to put this here. And actually we're gonna go like this. Then display by author. Otherwise, the way you do that is just else, big surprise. Then maybe we can do something like this, by NA, or I think author unknown is actually better. No, let's just put NA. Not available, because it's literally not available. Cool. And then to close off a if statement, then you just put end if, just like that. Okay, so this is our little if statement here, checking if there's an author and then displaying it, and then if not, then just displaying NA. And let's just run this and see what happens. Go over here, refresh this page, and as you can see, it updated, and since there's the first blog post has an author, then it displays it out, and the second one, because it doesn't, it just displays NA. All right. So this is cool. This is very elementary, rudimentary kind of blog web page right now. We have our posts, just 2 posts right now, but we can really clean this up with CSS and stuff in Bootstrap later on when we actually do a project. But right now I'm just showing you the syntax and how all this stuff works, okay, and this Jynga stuff. So that is pretty much it for getting sending variables from our Flask app to our front end using templates and stuff, and utilizing those Jynga control flow statements to get crafty with displaying that data. So like, actually, let's go back here really quick and go to inspect so we can actually see the HTML code. So if you look here, this is the HTML code that was generated here on this web page, and if you look back, this is all we actually have in the file. So remember, we had the extends base.html, so we have all this HTML. So there's like doc type HTML. Let's make sure that's there. Yep, there's doc type, there's all this stuff, there's all this crazy head stuff, but the title is posts, which is what we added in here from the block, and then block body is all down here. And then let's see if we can find post 1. Yep, post 1 is here with the author and stuff, and then post 2 is right here. So pretty cool. All this HTML was generated from all of our Jynga with the loops, like it was looping over and generating HTML on the fly, and the blocks were all being plugged into our base.html. So that's pretty much how templating works in Flask, okay? There's more you can do even, but those are the basics and most important things that you need to know first. And yeah, I think we should start getting into databases or something next, or form submission or something like that. But some more interesting things, okay? That kind of wraps up templates for now, and I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, welcome back. So we just went over templates in Flask and how to get your HTML files into your Flask program. All right, and we also went over a little bit of Jynga 2, using these percent braces and these double braces to be able to import variables into our front end HTML so that we can have a dynamic front end pretty much, okay? Dynamically generated. And now we're going to be moving on to how to get your static files into your Flask program as well, okay? So static files are basically your styling sheets and your JavaScript. So your CSS and your JavaScript. These are static just because they're statically loaded every time, they don't change. Dynamically, like the HTML files might, and yada yada. So let's just create a new folder in here, okay, called static. And then within here, let's create a folder called CSS. And then within here, let's create a file called main.css. Okay, so you need this directory structure, static, and then CSS, and then main.css to keep it organized. And here, we're just gonna be using a example styling sheet, so it's not going to be crazy. We're just going to very simple, just change the font. So font family, we'll change this to Helvetica. Okay, save that. That's good enough for now. Instead of this Times New Roman font, I'm just going to change it. But let's say we want to apply this CSS to everything on our web page. Okay, so since everything's inheriting from base.html, we can actually just go into here and pop in the static file linking here. So we'll just put in a link tag, and I'm going to say it's a style sheet. All right, and then the file location will just be static /css / main.css, just like that. Okay, so now this is going to be applied everywhere. Since we're changing the body tag, this is just going to change the font of everything in the body on every web page. I think I saved it, so it should be running because we're in debug mode. It automatically updated. Let's go back here. Let's hit refresh, and as you can see, it changed to Helvetica. Okay, from whatever Times New Roman font we had before. And if we go into inspect and we go down to here, then we can see the font family is Helvetica, and we can toggle on and off here pretty much our change. So that's pretty much it on how to link in your CSS files. It'll be exactly the same for JavaScript. Okay, you would just create a you would just create a new folder in here called JS, and then again new file, main.js, and then yada yada. Type out your JavaScript, link it in here just like you did the CSS, and that's how you do your static linking. However, there is one thing. We can link it like this, as you saw, like it's working, but a better practice of doing it is to use a method called URL_for. So this will is just more robust in the getting the static file location, and it's just going to be like this. Okay, URL_for. So instead of writing out the entire static, the URL path, like word, like character for character, we're going to be using this Jynga syntax again. So to get the Jynga syntax in here, it's just going to plug in something. So we're going to call some code, and then whatever this code returns, we're going to plug into here. That's what Jynga does. All right. So URL_for is actually going to return the location of a static file, and then it's just going to print it out as a string, or plug it in as a string into our HTML here. So the way we do that is we define the top level directory. Since this is a static file, it's just gonna be static, and then within here, then you can actually define the file name further. Okay, so the way we do this, oops, don't use double quotes because we're already using that. Then we're just going to put css / main.css. All right, and now when we run this, this is going to autocomplete, or it's going to evaluate to the actual complete path of this, and then it's just going to be plugged in via Jynga. So when we go back here, back to our web page, then we can see that when we refresh it, that it stays the same. Well, just to prove it to you, let me just comment this out so you can see that it's actually being read. So when we comment this out, okay, and then we refresh this, it goes back to what it was before. But then when we put it back in, okay, with this new format, and we save it and we go back here, we can see that the font change still takes place. Okay, so that's how you should link things, your static files in Flask, using URL_for and this Jynga syntax thing. Okay, so that's how you link your static files. I'll see you guys soon to go over databases and stuff. Alright you guys, so now we're going to go over databases. Alright, so I said earlier that Flask doesn't actually come with a database included with it when you download it, which is true because they want to keep it lightweight. So if we want a database, then we have to actually use an external third-party one. So there's this cool little library that has interoperability with Flask called sqlalchemy. If you've never heard of it, it's just kind of like a interface to allow us to interact with databases like SQLite or MySQL or Postgres or something from an application like Flask. So let's just get into it, and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so first you're gonna need to actually install it. So go down to your terminal, all right, and then just run pip install flask dash sqlalchemy, just like that. Did I spell it right? Yeah. So run that and it should download. I already have it downloaded, so it didn't actually download. It'll take like 10 seconds. If you're having issues again, you could use sudo. Just run sudo before the whole command, and then that might fix it. But now that it's installed, let's just get into the code, okay? So the first thing you're gonna have to do is obviously import it. So we're just going to run, what is it called? From Flask sqlalchemy, import sqlalchemy. All right. Yeah, it should be import sqlalchemy, just like that. So now that we have that, now we actually need to start setting up our database, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we need to actually tell us, or tell Flask, our Flask app, where our database is gonna be stored, okay? So that's done through a configuration. So we actually just call config on our Flask app, okay? And then there is a field in that configuration file called sqlalchemy _database_URI, which is just a path to where the database is stored, okay? So we're gonna be using SQLite because it's just easy for the when we're in development mode, and then if you actually in production mode, then you can use a different database if you want. But the really nice thing about sqlalchemy is that it allows us to use any database we like, and it's as simple as just changing the root to a different database, and then pretty much all of the query and stuff to our database is the same. So sqlalchemy is like a nice interface, and it allows us to use the same code pretty much, but we can actually hot swap in MySQL or Postgres later when we're in actual production mode. But we're just gonna use SQLite for now, just because it's simple and it's easy, and SQLite stores the database locally in a file. So we're actually gonna have our database stored in here in a file right down here. We'll do that in a few seconds, you'll see. But that's why we're gonna use SQLite, okay? So once you have your database chosen, okay? Oops, let me disable this, the emoji thing. But once you have your database chosen, then you just need to define the path of where it's going to be stored, okay? So you can use 3 slashes or 4 slashes. They actually mean two different things. This means it's going to be a relative path. So wherever we put it, it's going to be relative to this current file, app.py. Or if I put 4 slashes, then this is a absolute path, and I can go from the root directory or something. But we're just going to do relative. That's what you should be doing. It's better and cleaner. But we're just going to call this posts.db, okay? So we're going to create a file, a database file called posts, and this is actually just going to pop up right parallel to this file, so it's going to be right down here, okay? So that's how you do that. Now that we have that, now we can actually create our database. So we're just going to call it db equals sqlalchemy, all right? And then we just pop in app like that. So now we have a database. And sqlalchemy took our app, our Flask app, and is now linked them together, okay? So that's pretty much all of the setup for the database. Now we can actually get into designing the database, okay? So if you guys are familiar with model view controller stuff, the structure for web development pretty much, then we're gonna be doing our models right now. If you don't know what models are, pretty much it's just a way to structure the data in your database. So it's like, okay, if we're in a database and we're making a blog, then each blog is going to have a title, and then it's going to have an author, and it's going to have some text that is actually in the blog post. And that's how those are the kind of things you'd need. So like in your database, you're going to need a title field, a content field, and an author field. So we're going to model that in code. So if you're coming from Django, then this should be very straightforward. But yeah, let's just create some models, okay? So the one we're going to do, you create it with classes, by the way. You kind of just define a class, and then each class variable is considered like a piece of data in your database. So I'm just gonna call this class blog post, okay? And it needs to inherit from model, all right? Our database model, because we're making a model, and now we just need to go through all the different things that a blog post might have, okay? So the first thing that most models have, or pretty much all models should have, is an ID, okay? And we have to create columns, okay? So the way we do it in sqlalchemy is we create columns in the table. So a database is really just like a big table, okay? And then each column is like one of the different attributes, and then each row is like another. Each row is a separate blog post, and each column is a different class variable. So after we define a column, then you have to give the data type. So this is just going to be an integer, all right? And then we're going to set this to primary key to be true, all right? And what that means is primary key is it just means that this ID is going to be the main distinguisher between different blog posts, because this ID will always be unique. Even if you have duplicate blog posts and blah, 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 this will always be the distinguishing factor. So that's what we call it, the primary key. It's like in a dictionary, like the key needs to be unique. So this ID will always be unique. All right, what else we need? We need a title. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just we change the data type. So for title, then we want this to be string, okay? And we can actually limit this to a certain amount of characters. So I'm just going to put 100. Well, for string, you actually have to, I believe. I don't know what the default is, but I think you need to put a number in here. So we're just going to say title can be up to 100 characters. And then I'm going to set this nullable equal to false. All this means is that this field is required, okay? This field cannot be null, cannot be like nothing. So we're setting this to false, which means this has to be here, okay? What else we need? We need content, okay? So the content of the blog post is going to be column again, if I can type it correctly. And then this time it's not going to be string, but it's just going to be text, okay? And this has no length to it. It just goes for as long as it wants. And then this is also going to be required for a blog post, okay? Because you don't want an empty blog post. Next, we're going to have author, all right? We're just creating our model here for a blog post. You guys haven't caught on to that yet. Column, again, for like the third, fourth time. And then string. And let's just limit it to 20, because I don't think most people's names are longer than 20 characters. So that should be good enough. And then nullable equals false. Like there always needs to be some kind of author listed. However, if there's no author actually written down, like we had before in our dummy data, like this, if there's nothing there, then I want it to autocomplete to, then I want it to autocomplete to NA, okay? So all we can do, all we need to do that is you can actually just set a default. So a default value for that would just be NA. And so this is saying that author is required, but if it isn't actually there, just set it to the default. So that's handy, okay? And last thing, I think we'll do date posted, okay? Or date created or whatever. And again, db.column. And db dot date time. So actually this is a different data type. This is a date time because it needs to be a date, obviously. And nullable equals false. And again, we're gonna set the default to the current time, okay? So UTC now. UTC is just the time zone you should be using because I believe it's just a standard, so always use UTC now. But we actually do need to import date time. So let's go up here and say import or from date time, import date time. Got it. And default. And I think that's it for the model. We need to actually do one more thing. But before we do that, I just want to point out that what we're doing is we're creating a real database now. Okay, versus using this dummy data, which we did earlier, but we're gonna be having it look the same. So I have title, that's where I got all this model stuff from, okay? I have a title, I have content, and I have author. Pretty much we're just gonna be using this database to replace this dummy data and do the same exact thing of going through here, sending all the posts to our front end, and then printing out on our web page like this, okay? So very last thing we're going to do in our model is we want to define a method here, okay? And it is actually called underscore underscore, that's 2 underscores, REPR underscore underscore. I don't actually know what that stands for, okay? Maybe like reprint or something, but pretty much what this function is gonna do is, or method, I always get those mixed up, but what this function here, it's going to print out whenever we create a new blog post, okay? And it's kind of like it gives it like a just something to display to the screen after we create it so that we can recognize it. So we're just gonna pop in this very simple thing. I'm just going to say blog post, and then I'm just going to add the ID. I'm assuming you guys know object-oriented programming. Okay, you need to know that. If you don't, then please go learn that and come back, okay? And, oh, I believe I need to cast this to a string, yeah, because that's an int. So it's just gonna say blog post and then the ID, because this is always unique. So when we create it, then in our database, whenever we're looking at it, then we'll be able to see the ID and that it was created. But that's pretty much it for setting up a database. I mean, we just like downloaded it and created a model and got it all set up. And that's pretty much all the backend stuff. And then next, what we're going to go over is actually hooking this up to our front end so that we can input data to our database, and have it display on our web page like on the fly. Whenever we add new stuff and refresh the page, we want the data in the database to be reflected on the web page. So we're going to be hooking up to our front end. All right. So I'll see you guys soon. Or actually, I forgot real quick, before we go to the front end, we actually need to create our database. So we designed it and everything, like we have it set up and we define where we want it to be, and then we have our whole model and everything and blah, 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 what's gonna print out when we create stuff. But now we actually wanna build this database and generate this file, okay, this post.database file. So that's as simple as just going down to our terminal, okay? And then let's just start a Python environment and navigate to this directory, the same one here, but it should be there by default. All right. And then all we need to do is say from our app, you want to import the database that we just created. Okay. This database up here, the sqlalchemy app. And yeah, some of this stuff will print out. This is not important. It always prints out pretty much. And then once you're here, you just want to print db.create all. All right. And what this does is it's going to go through our model and everything, and then go through here in the configuration, and it's going to create this database with this model in mind, okay, with all this code, this class in mind. And you're actually going to see this database, post.database, pop up down here. So let's run this. And as you can see, it created our post.database file in the same directory, because remember, we wanted our data to be relative to this and in the same directory as our Flask app, okay? So now we'll be going on to the front end. Actually, I changed my mind. Surprise. Right before we go to the front end stuff, I do want to just demo this a little bit. So we built the database and it got built over here. But now in this little environment, let's actually just add a couple things to the database and then see if they were input in, okay? So after we create the database here, it's already created, we can go ahead and actually add some entries to it. But before we do that, we have to import the models, okay? So our model is blog post, so we're gonna have to say from app again, import blog post this time. We already have the database imported here. So once we have both of these, then we're good to go. So we have our database and we have the model that we want to be able to input. So after we've done that, I'm gonna show you guys how to print out all blog posts or of any model in the database. So in the database can have many models inside. And in ours, we only have one, just blog post, but you might have like blog post, you might have like authors, you might have like images and a bunch of other things. But you can call this thing called query. So we're just going to query it and then say all. So this is just saying spit all of the blog posts back to me, all of them in a list. So when I run that, you can see that it's an empty list because we haven't added anything to the database yet. We haven't added any blog posts to the database. So adding to the database is as simple as pretty much just doing this, okay? So database dot session, so our current session, and then just calling add, all right? And then in here, all we need to put is a new model type. So a new blog post or whatever other model we have. In our case is blog post. So we're just going to put blog post. And now we need to create the blog post. So let's look at our model here up here. So there's a title. All right. Title is, let's just say blog post. Oops, that's wrong. Blog post 1. All right. Second would be content. All right, and we'll just say content of blog post 1. La 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 la. Again, same thing. And then after that, then we need author. All right, equals Aaron. And date posted, we'll just let the default happen. Okay. So as soon as it's created is when it is considered posted. So let's hit that, and didn't complain at all. Cool. So now let's go back up to here and say blog post.query.all. And as you can see, blog post 1 pops up, okay? And it says blog post 1 because whenever we create a new blog post, we said we want to print blog post and then have the ID after. So the ID is 1 in this case. And then if we run this command again and make another blog post in the database, then I can change. Let me just change the numbers quick, like that, and then print them all out again. And as you can see, now there's 2 in the database, okay? And these changes are actually happening in this database file. So like if I completely restart my entire computer and close all this and have different terminal sessions and stuff, these changes and this data will be preserved in this file no matter what, even if I move this file to a different computer, okay? That's why it's a database, so it's pretty cool. Now let me just, because this is kind of cryptic, it doesn't really give us much information, let's dig into each one a little bit, okay? So I can say blog post.query.all, right? But it's a list, so if I do this, then I'll just get blog post 1. And from here, then I can actually just get the different fields just by calling dot here, okay? So let's just put title, all right? Title will be blog post 1. And maybe let's put content. Let's see the content. Content blog post 1, la 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 la. And the author, okay, would be me. And let's see date posted. All right. Date time. Oh, we could clean up that formatting, but point is that the date time object is in there correctly. Okay. We can clean it up later if we're actually doing the front end stuff. But as long as the data is in there, that's what you want. You have all the data here that you need. Year, month, day, hour, minute, second, millisecond. And yeah, let's just check the second one as well. Date posted a little bit later. That's right. And then I just want to check the author to make sure it's NA, to make sure the default is working and it's working correctly. Okay, so that's just a little demo of our database. Now, now that you've seen a little bit of how the code works, we're actually going to be using this kind of code, these query things, and all these, and these the add and all that stuff into our code. All right, into our actual code up here, and then have it running, and then we'll connect to our front end. Okay, I'm done lying now, so we're gonna go to the front end now. All right, so now we're gonna hook up this database to our front end. If you remember from earlier, this was the web page that has a lot of our posts on it, and we have 2 of these posts in here, but from our dummy data, right? Our dummy data here. What we want this to do is we want all the data here to reflect whatever's in our database. So like it goes into the database and reads it all, and then displays it all here. And then also I want to have a little section here at the top where you can put in a new title, like to make a new blog post. Like you can input a title, you can input some text, and then click a submit or a post button, and then have that added to the database, and then automatically added to the end of this list. All right, and have this list ordered in order of date posted. Okay, so let's get started. All right. So the first thing we're gonna need to do is, like I said before, if we want to be able to add things to this web page, like be able to post something, if we're gonna fill out a form and then send it to the database, then we need to actually allow post requests on this web page. Okay, so if we go here and I believe it is /posts. Here it's /posts. If nothing is listed, then the only request that is allowed is get by default. So it would look like this: methods equals get. That's by default, but we also want to allow post. Okay, so now it can have get and post, and now we can actually have a form that we can fill out and post to our database from that web page. So now this is allowed. All right, so that's the first step. Short but very crucial. And now we're gonna want to, some loud stuff going on outside. Now we want to actually go to the front end and actually add in this form. Okay, so let's just go to let's just add it right after all posts and before all the posts are listed. Let's just go right here. Cool. Let's just add a couple nice line breaks to keep it by itself. These are just horizontal lines across the whole web page. It's just gonna keep it nice and it'll look nicer. All right, so let's add in a header. Okay, so this will be create new blog post and capitalize this correctly. All right, and then now we're just gonna have a form. All right, so the action, which is just the URL that we want to be at, is going to be posts. Okay, so that's where it's going to be posted from. And the method is going to be post. All right, and we can close off this tag. And now we can put all the stuff we want inside of our form. So this form, whatever we put in here, when we hit the submit button, then everything in this form is going to be sent to our database. All right, so let's have a title. All right, and this will be input. And the type will be text. Just putting in text. Dang it, text. And then also the name and the ID will both be title. Okay, so this is just so we can refer to this input thing as title, and then we know in the database where to put it in the database from each form. So like from this inbox thing, from this input thing, then we're gonna put this into the title part of the database. That's why we need these here. Okay, let's just put a line break, and then let's put post. So that's where the post text is gonna go. And again, input type equals text, and name equals content, and ID equals content. All right, same deal. Another line break. And last one, input type equals submit button. So this is how we're going to submit our form. You guys should know this. Oops. If you know HTML, equals post. So that's the what's going to be displayed on the button. And that should be the entire form. Okay, that's just plugging that into the front end. So let's get this running again. Let's quit out of this there we go, out of that Python environment, get the Flask server up and running again. Come back here. Why is it not working? Oh, I found out why it's not working. I actually put this in the wrong spot. Silly me. So let's just copy, cut that out, and actually put it in here. Okay, it was supposed to be within the body block here. Okay, I put it between the two blocks in here. It's supposed to go inside this block right after all posts. Okay, so I copied all that, and let's indent it, save it. Server should update automatically. Come back here. Now when I refresh, boom, there we go. That's better. So here's the little lines that I was talking about. We have the title, and then we have like very simple text and some input fields and post. Okay, and when I hit this, nothing happens. Okay, because we haven't decided what to do when we submit the form. So it just redirects here by default. Okay, to itself. So now that we have the form completed, now all we need to do is hook up the form, so when we fill it out and hit submit, that it actually goes to the database and it's saved to the database. And then when it's saved to the database, then it is automatically this entire list is automatically reread from the database and repopulated to show the new blog post that we just created. So let's go to our code again. Come down to posts. All right, and then we are going to want to add in a little check here within this function here. And we basically just want to say if request.method equals post, all right, then add it to the database. We're actually going to need to include request, okay, up here. So from Flask, import Flask, render template, and request, all right. Where was it? Here we are. So if the method is post, then what we want to do is actually read all the data from the form and then send all that data to the database, okay? And then save it to the database before redirecting back to itself and showing the new blog post in the entire list, okay? So this is just gonna be pretty simple. There's gonna be a title, right? Because there's a title field. So we need title and post. And content. So post title will just be the request, read from the form, and this will just be title, okay? And the content will be request, the form, and this will be content, all right? And then we'll just create a new post from these two things, okay? A new blog post object, and the title will be the post title, okay? And content will be the post content, and author will be Aaron, okay? And the date created will just be auto-generated by default, all right? So now that we have needs to be equals there. So now that we have our new post object, okay, our new blog post object, we can now add this to the database, okay? Very, very simple. So we did this before in down here when we were playing around with the database. It's going to be exactly the same. We're just going to call db.session.add new post, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to add this to the database, okay, in this current session. One thing I think I forgot to actually show down there when we were playing with the database is after you add something to the database, it's actually only added in the current session. I said if you like move this database to like a different file or you restart your computer and this and that the change would still be there. That is not true because you only added to it in this session. What you actually have to do is you also have to take whatever's in this session currently and commit it to the database completely. So only after you call commit will it actually be saved here permanently, and then when you move the database to a different computer or restart or blah blah blah, then it'll still be there. But if you add it, it'll be there only for like this current runtime, but then you need to commit it to make it permanent. All right. So after we create this stuff by getting the content from the form, the data from the form, and then creating it and then committing it, then all we have to do is a simple redirect, okay? Redirect, and we just want to redirect back to the same page so that it goes there and then it just gets it, and then since it's in the database and it's going to be reading from the database, and the new post will be there. All right, and else if we are not posting, which means the only other option is we're getting, then we just want to display the blog post as normal, okay, without adding anything. So the way we can do this is we actually want to read from the database. Remember before we were using dummy data, all posts. We are actually getting this from this dictionary up here. I called all posts. I can actually just delete this, but I'll just collapse it for now. All posts, we're just going to overwrite this so that we don't actually have to change anything, okay? So all posts, I'm just going to overwrite this. And then what we're going to be doing here is actually getting all of the blog posts from the database. So remember, that's just query, and then we can just call all, okay? And that would actually work. But one other little thing I want to do instead of just calling all is you can actually well, we can leave that there. You can actually just pop in another call here called, I believe, order by. Okay, and then we can decide what you want to order all your blog posts by, and what we're going to order ours by is the date created. Okay, so you can just call it, or the date posted, I think. Yeah, date posted. So we're just going to be getting all of the blog posts, reading all of them from the database, ordering them by the date they're posted, and then simply sending that to our front end like we were before. All right. So let's refresh this, or it might break actually. So this is, I think this is actually ready to go. So let's just try to go here, refresh this, click continue. Oh yeah, the server isn't running. Why isn't it running? I knew something was off. All right, let's try it again. Global name blog posts is not defined. It looks like we have a quick bug. Let me fix this. All posts equal blog post. There's no S at the end. All right, now let's try it. There we go. So as you can see, it the changes took place because this is all here and our database is currently empty, so there are no blog posts here. Okay, but if we type in, I suppose actually we should have put a third one called author. So like you could put like title and then post and then have author. I just hard coded in Aaron for now, but you guys get the idea. Okay, this is Flask, not a HTML crash course. So title will just say first blog post, and the post would be, hey you guys, I just wrote my first blog post. Thanks for reading. Cool. And then let's hit post. Redirect. Okay, again, I did not include redirect. Okay, so you need to import that as well along with request. Now let's try again and post, and there we go. So it worked. Oh, and it looks like the form was saved even though it didn't send through. It actually sent twice. So maybe we could fix that. But point is, it seems like it's working. Okay, let's add a second one. So second blog post. This is my second one, and hit post again. And there we go. It just added to the end there. Okay, second blog post by author. This is my second one. Yada yada yada. And so yeah, so we have our database hooked up to our front end now, and that's the basic framework. Of course, we can use CSS to clean this up, make it better, and have a lot better website design and all that. But the backend and the backbone of all this stuff is working. All right. So that is it for databases for now. We'll also go over like deleting blog posts and updating blog posts a little bit later, because we already for a CRUD application, create, read, update, delete, we've already done create and read here. But yeah, we'll go over that later. And then there's actually a lot of different other things you can do to read from your database. Like there's other ways you can order it, you can filter it, you can get all of them, you can get like the first one and all that stuff. So we'll go over all of that shortly, but you guys get the basics for now. All right, nothing's going according to plan. I'm just gonna go over them right now actually. So I'm gonna go over all of the different kinds you can read from the database, which is just querying. And then also we'll go over the how to delete things from your database, and also how to update elements in only like certain parts of blog posts, like updating the author or updating the title or updating the whole post, to finish off the CRUD stuff in Flask. Okay, so we're gonna do all that down here in a Python environment, and then we'll go ahead and then implement it in our code right after. Okay, so let's just get Python up and running again. Oops, Python. All right, and then again from app we have to import our database and also our model. We only have one blog post. All right, so this information just prints out all the time. You can ignore that again. Let's put some space. And now, if we go back to our website, remember we're here to our blog with all of this here. Let me just show you how to read, like all the different reads and stuff. I mentioned you can filter by things. I mentioned you can, there's different kinds of ways you can read from the database. Let's just go over that. So remember, to get any of the blog posts, you just call query. And you guys are familiar with all already, okay? There's blog post 1, 2, and 3, blog post 1, 2, and 3. All right, and then if I add one, why don't we just add another one? Title, fourth one, yo, 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 hi, hi, hi. Cool, post. There we go, fourth one, yo, 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 hi, 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 by Aaron. And then I'll run this again. Then the blog post pops up right there. Cool, on the fly. What else is there? You can actually just call first, okay? And this would just get us the first one because this is an entire list, you know? So this is just a shortcut to get the first one, but of course we can also just index into it like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you can't index out of it though. You're gonna get an error, as you can see, okay? What else can you do? You can, I said you can filter, right? So let's go back to the one that's not breaking right up here, okay? And you can actually call something called filter by. And here you can actually specify what you want to filter by. So for us, if we filter by maybe author, if we filter by author, then it'll only spit out all the ones where the author matches. So actually, I guess this will actually come in handy right here. Since these two have the same title, let's just filter by this title, okay? Which means that only these two will show up, all right, when we filter by that. So let's go into here and let's just say title equals, oops, no, that's not, there we go. Title equals first blog post. So let's just copy this, pop that in there. Dang it. Okay, pop that in there. And, oh, and when you do this, this actually alters the query. So this isn't actually going to pop out what we need. We actually need to call .all again. Okay, so when we query blog post, it just automatically gets all of it, and then we have to call .all to actually show all of it, because this is just like a query object. So, but this filter by actually just edits this query object, and then we have to call .all again to actually show it. So as you can see, only blog post 1 and blog post 2 show up because those are the only ones that have a title that match first blog post like that. Okay. This would be a lot more useful if there's like different authors or something. But when we do update in a few seconds, I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll do another filter, okay? Besides filter, you can also do order by, which we already did up in the code, remember? You can order by instead of filtering by something, then you would just order by it, which means you'll get everything, but then you'll order it, you'll sort it by that order based on that thing, the date posted in this case. Oh, and lastly, the very, very important one, okay? I'm just going over all the most important different kinds of reads, okay? You can go look at the documentation if you want to see everything else. There's also query.get, okay? So what this does is this actually gets whichever model object has their ID, okay? So if you put, so you see how there's like blog post 1, blog post 2? If I put 1, it would automatically just get blog post 1 for me. So as you can see, it works like that. And if I do get 2, then I get blog post 2, and so on and so forth. And again, if I go out of range, nothing breaks. But if you actually print this out, this is returning a blog post object right here. But what this is returning is actually none, okay? So if I actually type print blog post.query.get 5, okay, it's none. It's just an empty thing. So it's empty, it's null, and so if you try to do anything with it, it's going to break. There's actually another method called get or 404, which we're actually going to use in our code a little bit later, but don't worry about that for now. Just know what that get using calling a get function just requires the ID, okay? The primary key ID. That's pretty much it for reading though. I mean, those are all the different things you can do to query, like all the main things you can do to query a database. And now let's go over delete. All right, so if we go up here, I had my I guess duplicate here. Let's just delete one of these duplicates, okay? Or let's delete the last one that I just deleted, okay? Because it's kind of whatever. The way you delete in Flask is you have to, from the database, is you have to call the database object and then the session again, okay? And then instead of add, which we had before, we just have delete, all right? Very straightforward. And what we need in here is actually the object of the model. In this case, our blog post. So we have to actually get a blog post object in there. So how do we do that? Well, we can use the get. So if we just copy this and paste that in there and go like this, and we want to delete the fourth one, right? If we go like that, and then we hit enter, then it'll actually delete this fourth one. It's not going to work, I believe, if I refresh it. Yeah, because we haven't committed those changes, all right? So you have to db.session.commit as well, all right? And it should work now. There we go, it is gone. The reason it's working is because I actually have a terminal running in the background just to have the server up and running. Because I'm in the Python environment down here, this would have crashed, but I started running this ahead of time, okay? So this terminal is exactly the same. Let me just, I guess you don't even need to see this. It's just the terminal running. But that's pretty much it for delete, okay? You just need to have the ID, the primary key, because if you're deleting something, then if two blog posts are completely identical, then you still need to distinguish between those two to know which one to delete. So you have to delete by the primary key, okay? And that's ID. Lastly, we have update, which is pretty cool. So remember how we were able to go into different fields of a model of a blog post? So we can like go get the title, we can go get the content, we can go get the author by simply going like this: blog post dot query dot get one dot title or something, okay? And we do that, then we get first blog post, okay, which is the title of the very first one. Now what's cool about this is we can actually just set this equal to something else. So if we let's change the author of the second one, okay? Dot author, this should be Aaron, okay? That is right, by Aaron. And what we can do now is actually just change this by, because this is a variable, okay? We have direct access to this. We can just assign it to something else, to Kazi, okay? So the second one is Aaron right now. Let's run this, no errors. It's not gonna work because we didn't commit yet, but as soon as we commit all of our changes, boom, and we go back here and refresh, boom, it changes to Kazi, okay? And same thing again, we can change it right back, all right? And commit again, boom, refresh, back to Aaron, all right? But actually, let's change it back to Kazi real quick, and then I wanna show you filter again. Kazi, commit. And now that we have, I'll refresh this. Now that we have a different author here, I'm going to actually filter by Aaron, and then it should ignore the second one, okay? Just to demonstrate that last part. So db.query.filter by, that's what it's called, not Gilter by, Gilmore Girls. I've never even watched that show. But what was I doing? Filtering by author, that's right, equals Aaron, okay? And dot all. Remember, we have to, because this just edits the query. Now that we have dot all, we can just run this. Oops, sorry. Not db.query.filter. Blog post.query.filter. There we go. So you can see that we get blog post 1 and blog post 3, okay? And that makes sense because we're filtering by the author of Aaron, and it ignores this one. All right, and again, because this is editing the query, we can actually just do first something like this, all right? And or just index into it like this, and boom, we can get exactly what we want. So now we know how to read, we know how to update. You can update any other of these. Sorry. Assuming we have the right data type. So like if I wanted to change the date posted, then you would just have to get like a date time, whatever object and blah, blah, blah. But you'll probably be getting all of these things from like a HTML front end form, which is what we're gonna be doing. We implement this in code in just a second, okay? So I'll see you guys in just a second to do that. All right, you guys, right before we do that though, I realized that I was hard coding in the author here to Aaron. Let's change it really quick, okay? So when we create a new blog post, we can actually specify the author, all right? And then if it's not provided, then it'll automatically put in not available n/a, okay? Let's do that really quick. let's get rid of this dummy data too. We don't need this anymore, all posts, because we're using a database now. So I'm just going to simply delete that. All right. Now all this you have to do is pretty straightforward. Let's just go to post.html because that's what's here, and then go to our form, which is right here. And then we have title and post. So let's just add one that is called author. And we'll call this author and call this author. All right, save those. That should be good. Let's just refresh this. There we go. Change was made. Cool. But now we also need to go into our code, and whenever we generate the /posts web page, whenever we're here or like we refresh this page and all this is generated, we need to make sure that this author reflects whatever was typed in here is in the database. So when we get here, when we post a new blog post, then we were only getting title and content, but now we also need to get author, post author, and call it author because that's what we gave the name and ID. All right. And then one last thing is when we're creating the post, we have to specify that the author is post author and not Aaron. Okay. Not Aaron by hard coded. Okay. That's cool. If there's no author, then I believe it'll still just display NA because down here we say if there's an author, then display the author. But if there is no author, if it's null, then we're just going to display NA. Okay. I could have saved NA in the author, but I think this is just better because you don't want to like weird NA things floating around in your database for authors. Okay. It's just a display thing. We're just like making it easy, clean for the front end. So it's better to do it like this. Okay. Let's just refresh this really quick. Okay. Let's create a new post. Awesome blog post. Cool. Author is me and post is post. And we can hit enter and that should work. So awesome blog post and by me and post. All right. So now let's get into the delete and update. All right, so deleting. So I think on our website, we should just have a delete button, okay, after the entire post so that we can delete it. And then we'll also add an edit button later when we're doing update, okay, but we'll have like a delete and an edit button that we can just click and then it'll either delete it or then we can edit it, okay? And then when we save it, then it should just be reflected here. The change should be reflected. So let's go back here. Let's just go to post.html. And let's add in that button, okay? So after the content, I think we can put it at the very end. So just after the content, we'll have two buttons. So very simple. Let's just put in some simple links here, all right? href, we'll just leave that empty for a second. Href, and just call this delete, okay? And I'll just leave it like that. Let's just save it, refresh, there we go. So we have the delete there. It looks like it's working. Let's add a nice line divider. That looks better. Okay. And now let's actually put the href in. So the URL that I'm going to use is just posts / I think delete / and then we're also gonna need the post of the ID of the post. Let's do this later, actually. Let's leave this blank for now. Let me go back to our code over here, and let's start implementing the URL first, and that makes more sense to do it in this order. So let's define a new root for delete. All right, we don't need these methods like that, and let's make it delete. And then in here, we are going to need to specify which blog post we're going to delete. So that's just going to be from the ID, okay? So when we go to that URL, if we go to /posts/delete/ID, like if it was this /delete/1, then this one would get deleted, okay? Oops. Let's just define delete here, okay? And that should be ID in here, the variable that we just made up there from the URL. And then once we're in here, all we need to do is just fetch the unique blog post using the ID. That's why we need the ID, because that's the primary key. If you guys remember, that's the distinguishing field. And we're just going to say blog post dot query dot get or 404, because if it doesn't exist, then we don't want it to break. And there we go. So we have our post, and now it's as simple as just delete post. All right, and then commit. Well, db.session.commit, and then after this, then we just have to redirect to the back to the post page. Okay, just like that. Pretty straightforward. So we're just when we get to this URL with the ID, the distinguishing factor, then we get that post. Then we just call delete on the database. We commit the change, and then we just redirect back to this main list of posts. Okay, the global list. So let's save this. Let's go back here. Let's refresh it. And oh yeah, we didn't. I undid that change. Let's go back and make that change now. Let's go to post.html. And if you see down here, we are passing in the post when we delete it. So when we're here, we can actually just call slash posts slash the delete, I believe, right? That's what I called, yeah. And then just use some Jynga 2 syntax here. We can just call post.id, all right? Why is it red? Why is it giving me an issue there? Oh, href equals. Okay, that was throwing me off earlier. Got it. But now, so all this is doing is when we're generating all of the posts, it's just getting the ID of the post. Okay, and then it's fetching that, and then it's going to this URL. Okay, so when we click on the delete button, it's going to take us to this URL. All right, down here. So clicking here will take us to the /delete/ID URL for this one, and then it'll delete it. So I already saved it. Let's refresh this, and as you can see, now there's delete buttons. And if we hover over it, you can see on the bottom right below where my clicker is, it might be a little bit small. If I remember to edit this in, then I can zoom in so you can see it clear. But it says localhost on port 5000 /posts/delete/4, because this is the 4th blog post, okay? 4. So it'll delete this one if I click it. And then same thing here, it's /3, and so on and so forth. So let's just give it a try. Hit delete, and we delete the last one, and it's gone, okay? So pretty straightforward for delete. Now let's add in an edit button. So let's add in the edit button now, okay? So we have a delete button, and then let's just follow it up with an edit button right after it. Very simple. We'll just copy and paste this. And the URL that I want to use is exactly the same, except it's going to be post/edit/the ID, because again, we can only edit one blog post at a time. So you want to distinguish it. And instead of delete, we want to have it say edit, okay? Very straightforward. So we just added this button in, and it's going to link to this specific URL. So after I show you this, then all we need to do is go into our app.py and then define this route now. And then whenever we stumble upon this URL, then we need to go to a separate new page that allows us to update everything in there and then save it back to the database, okay? So let's go over here. Let's just refresh this to show that it's popping up. As you can see, let me go back. I guess I can't undo it. Yeah, just rewind the video. You should have seen just this edit at the bottom pop up, okay? Right here. It wasn't there before. And if we click it, then it says not found, because see, we're actually at the /edit/1 URL, okay? But we haven't defined that route yet, so that's why it's giving us a not found error, okay? So let's go back to here, all right? And now let's go to app.py, and let's simply define a new route, okay? At app.route. We've done this before, so you guys should be getting familiar with it. Posts, I said we want to do edit instead of delete, and we're going to need an ID. Let me turn off Rocket again. And lost my train of thought. And we're also going to need to define that we can do get or post requests. Okay, dang it. Okay, because if we're editing a post, then we need to be posting to the database. We need to be updating the database. So that's a post request. Okay, so we have that, and now we're just going to define the code. Okay, so for edit, very straightforward. All we're gonna have to do is get the post again. Very similar. So actually, we just copy and paste this. Cool. And then now it's very simple. It's if we're posting, we need to treat it differently. If we're posting or if we are just getting this URL. Okay. So what I want this to look like is when you click edit here on this post, okay, I want a separate page to pop up that just has this form with different text. It'll say like editing post, and then this will just say edit or something. Okay. And then it'll be here. It'll be in here. And then I want the title to auto fill in with whatever the title is, the author to auto fill in with whatever the author is, and the content to fill in with whatever the content is. And then for this to say save instead of post. Okay. And I want just that. And then you can make your changes and then hit save. And then when you hit save, it should come back to this one and your changes should be reflected. All right. So that's kind of like the goal. And we're going to do that right now. So once we get to there, all we're going to need to do is just get all of the data from the form. So we're going to be just copying over this form pretty much. We're just going to copy the code over to a new web page called edit.html. Okay, we're actually going to create a new HTML file. But then once all the data is in here, we can make whatever changes we want on the front end. But then when we hit save, all the new data in this form needs to be saved to the database. So that's what we're going to do here. So it's literally as simple as just saying post.title now equals request.form title. Just like that, okay? So this is getting the data that was in the title field, whatever we changed it to, and then it's just saving it to this. It's just overwriting whatever was used to be there, okay? And then, surprise, we do the same exact thing for author and for content. And that will pretty much do it. Oh, no spelling mistakes. Cool. And then, of course, at the very end, we need to commit these changes. All right. db.session. I always forget that. Session. And then we just want to redirect after we save. Oh, of course, I need to put this in a if request.method equals post. Yeah. And all this needs to be indented. So if we're posting to this, which means when we're on the new web page and this all pops up in just this, and then we click this, which means we're posting something, then do that. Then do all this stuff. Then we're gonna have to define also what to get when we just arrive on that page. You just want to display what the empty fields there. Well, not empty, but whatever is supposed to be filled in here by default from the database. So this is going to be a simple redirect after we submit the form. We're just gonna go back to posts, okay, like that. And then else for here, we're going to return, we just want to render the new HTML template, okay? Render template. And then we're just gonna call it edit.html, all right? So now let's create edit.html. Okay, this might have been a little bit of a big chunk to bite off, but it was either this or the HTML first. Might have been better to do HTML first, but you guys should be able to follow along at this point. So let's just create a new file in here, okay, and call edit.html. Cool. And then let's just drag it over here. And let's just copy all of this from post.html. Or actually, I don't need all of it. We definitely need the extends. Let's just do it piece by piece. So we need the extends because we want to extend the template again. Oh, we're going to need a title. So let's just paste these in. Okay. But instead of post, it's going to be edit post. All right. Save this. Go back to posts. We're also going to need a block body. All right. So that's good. And then in here, we wanted to copy over this form. Remember, in this form only, we don't actually want the for loop that generates all this stuff. So let's just go to here and I guess get all posts and here and the whole form and stop right there. Okay, because we don't want to generate all the blog posts here in this for loop. So let's just stop. Oops, this way. Paste that in. And then we're going to need to skip that and then end the block. So copy and end block. All right. That should do it. Let's save it. And let's just see if it broke. So what happened? It broke. The server stopped. There we go. We just started it up again. Go here, refresh it. Cool. So now when we hit edit, all right, cool. It looks like we are at the post/post/edit/1 URL, and only the form was generated. Okay, with all the text here. So that's good. It seems to be working. Let's go over here, change this to edit post. Let's change this from all posts to editing post. All right. Let's change this to create new blog post to simply edit. And then we'll keep those three there. And then instead of a post button, I want to have this say save, so we can just save our changes. So let's delete that and just put this in here like this, save it again, come here. Because we're in debug mode, it's automatically updating the server. And as you can see, now we are on editing post and then edit and title, author, post, and save, okay? And when I hit save, remember I said there is going to be a redirect back to the main post page that has all the posts there. Because we hit the post, when we hit the post button, the save button, then we're doing a post request, and then it's gonna go back. So let's hit save, and it should go back. Cool. But when we hit edit, we want these changes to be reflected. Okay, so we're missing that bit of the code. So let's go to our edit.html. All right, and now in here we're just gonna have to. We're gonna have to make some changes. Mainly, we're just going to have to change the URL here, first of all. So the form, the action is the form that the URL that we're submitting on. So since we said we were going to handle post requests on this URL, okay, let's copy that. Then we need to have the form be submitted on this URL, okay? But of course, it's not going to be in ID. It's just going to be simply post.id. All right. Oh, I think we forgot to send in post here. Okay. Post equals post. Because we need to send the post that we are editing over to have access to all of its data, so we can auto fill in these fields here. Okay. So we have the post, and then now let's go over and then we send the post data over. And now that we're in here, we also have access to the post ID. So we know the ID here, and then we're pretty much almost done. Pretty much the only change that we have to make here is add on something here to each of these fields, and that is a default value. So we can, by default it's empty, that's why these are empty, but we can actually say to input some data in there. Anything we want really. So actually, I'll just show you. If you put cal, save this, go over and refresh. Post reference before assignment. One second, guys. Post equals post. Over here, post equals post. I see. Because this needs to be outside of the if statement. Little bug here. So we get the post for this method, and then we go into the if statement, and then this will be available in here. So let's save this and try this again. There we go. So you see that cal is auto completed in the field there. So let's go back to edit.html, change this, and simply all we need to do is just get the title, right? Get the title from the post that we have. So that's just going to be post.title. Okay, pretty straightforward. We'll save this. We'll hit this button, first blog post, which is what the title should be, and then just repeat this process for the other two, and we will be done. So post.author, all right, and post.content. And that should be good to go. So we have this saved. Let's go back here. Let's refresh it. And as you can see, all of these changes have taken effect. These fields are auto-completed, and if we change the author, we can say Tony Stark and hit save. As you can see, the author was changed to Tony Stark, okay? And we can hit edit again, first blog post, can add some more exclamation points, hit save, we redirect back to the page. We changed the stuff in the database with the commit, and then when we auto generate this stuff again, then all the changes are made, okay? And of course, we can go down here, we can delete posts, we can add new posts. Let's add a new one, new post again, author, me, or you, and then post, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, enter. There we go. New post again. Edit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's delete this so that's empty. Hit save. And because it's empty, you can see that the author was completed to an A. All right, let's delete this because this makes no sense. And that pretty much completes all of the CRUD functionality for this Flask app, okay? We're able to create new posts, okay? We can read posts in all different ways. We know how to read all, we know how to filter by, we know how to order by, we know how to use the get method. We know how to update posts, we know how to delete posts, and that pretty much completes it. So now we're going to go on and make this look a lot nicer, okay? We're probably going to use some Bootstrap and stuff to clean this up and maybe add in some other nice features, but this is the basics of Flask pretty much done. So if that's all you needed, you just want to learn like some basic Flask stuff, then you're good to go. But I encourage you to keep watching because we'll be getting to more some more fun stuff in just a little bit. All right, see you guys soon. All right, you guys, so now it's time to get some Bootstrap in this project, okay? So we finished all the Flask stuff. We have our whole CRUD application. And now let's just get some Bootstrap in. So let's go to bootstrap.com or to the website, I mean. And let's just go to the introduction, okay? This is where we can get the code to get started. So Bootstrap is just a collection of CSS files and JavaScript files and HTML files that allows us to plug and play things easily that make it look nicer so we don't have to code everything from scratch, okay? It's just like a building blocks, it's like Legos or something, but it's very useful for speeding things up and whatnot. So let's just go through the quick start here. So pretty much all we have to do is just copy a style sheet, okay? So this is gonna be CSS and then also some JavaScript from them, and then everything will be ready to go pretty much. So let's just take this, all right, copy the CSS and paste this into our base.html because we want this to be applied to every web page, and since everything inherits from our base.html, then we can just paste it in here pretty much, okay? So literally just paste it. We can get rid of this other style sheet. We don't need it, okay? Boom, like that. And let's save it, all right? And the server is running. And let's go back to our website. And when we refresh it, you can see that all of the fonts updated, okay? So now everything is a little bit different. That's good because that means that the Bootstrap fonts have been inherited. So we also need some of the JavaScript, like they said down here. So let's just copy this as well. Go back here, and then it says paste it at the bottom of the body tag, okay? So we're just gonna paste it right down there just like that, and fix the formatting, all right? Save it, and that should do it. It's not going to make any changes. We're just going to have a little bit of JavaScript in a bit, but that's where they're supposed to go, okay, at the end of the body tag. One last thing. Now, the last step that we want to do to get a few more formatting things in is in our base again, in the body, we just want to sandwich this, okay, in a div called container, all right? So class is going to be container. And all this is just a special Bootstrap class. Bootstrap specifies this class container in CSS, and what it's going to do is just give us some nice formatting things, like some padding and margins and whatnot. So when I refresh this, you're going to see everything is going to be centered. And as you can see, now you have some nice margins at the edge. And when we zoom, make the window small and whatnot, or if we're viewing a mobile, then everything will be accounted for. There's not gonna be any weird like clipping issues and stuff like that. Bootstrap takes care of all of that, which is great, okay? So we finally have a little bit of a nice front end going, but now we're gonna make it a lot nicer, okay? Stay tuned. All right, so we got Bootstrap installed and things are looking a bit nicer, so let's continue, okay? So now that we have all this here, I want to add a nav bar, all right? So it's very easy. Thanks to Bootstrap, we can just go into Bootstrap and plug in the nav bar pretty much. So let's just go to the website again, go to examples here, and you can scroll down. You can pretty much go to any of these websites and then just like inspect the source code and paste things into your own project as needed. So let's scroll down here to nav bars, okay? And then they have a bunch of nav bars here, just in code. And let's just take this first one, okay? This little one that has this nice little collapsible menu and blah, blah, blah. And maybe we'll take another thing from here later. So let's just go here, right click and click on view page source. All right, and then we're just gonna do Command F, the find function, and just put an NAV for nav. And let's just find the first nav bar. So it looks like this is the first nav bar here, from nav to nav. So let's just take this, okay? Boom, just like that, copy. And let's just paste it right at the top of our body, okay? Just like they did here. So we'll go here at the top of our body, paste in this nav bar, all right, right click, and let's say format document, so everything's nice and formatted for us. Let's save it, all right? The server is running because the debug mode is on. Let's go back to posts, refresh, and voila. The nav bar is installed just like a Lego, easy. So we have the collapsible menu here. All this text is wrong, but we're about to change that, and then we can also link these to link to the right web pages and whatnot. So let's go back into the code and do that now, okay? So if we go into here, we can see never expand. So never expand was this text here. So let's just change this to clever programmer block. Cool. Save, and then let's just change this to the root directory, okay? What else do we need? Well, let's just refresh this as we go. Okay, cool, it updated. If we click it, then it'll just take us to the home page again, but let's go back to posts. What else we need to change? Home. Yeah, let's change all these. So link, home is okay, but have this also linked to the home index. Let's change that there. Cool. Link, instead of link, let's have posts, okay? Save this and then have this link to /posts, all right? What else is there? Disabled, let's change this to about, okay? We don't have an about page, but let's just change that for now. Maybe we can add one later. Let's refresh this, check out the menu, see if it changed. Yep, we have home, we have posts. If you click on home, it takes us to the home page. And if we click on posts, it should take us to the posts page. Perfect. All right, and then we have the about, of course, and then our drop down here is another thing. Let's keep going, okay? So, drop down menu here. Maybe we can just add a contact us kind of thing here, all right? And we could add maybe a we could like link to our website. We could link to our YouTube. We could link to our Facebook. Maybe I'll actually paste the links in here later, and then we can just copy this and Twitter or Instagram. Wrong one. And Instagram. Okay, so we could actually link to these things. And why don't we actually do that? Okay, so really quick, our website is going to be https://www.cleverprogrammer.com. All right, and let's just pop in our Clever Programmer Facebook. Cool. Boom, here. Let's grab this URL. Here's our Facebook page. There's Kazi. Go here and paste that into Facebook. Cool. There's a double R here. I think it's a typo. I don't know, but that's actually the page. But anyways, maybe we'll fix that later. Our YouTube channel, you guys are probably familiar with. Clever Programmer YouTube. Boom. If it'll load. Just do this for completeness sake. Get the there we go. Get the channel here. Pause that video. Pop this into here. All right, save, and Instagram, last one. So that's gonna be Kazi's, Clever Kazi Instagram. But boom, boom. Get the one here and the URL, last one. And cool. So now we have a fully fledged contact us. So let's go back here. Let's quit out of this because we don't need it anymore. Navbar, we'll leave this here because we're going to grab some more stuff in there probably. Let's refresh this, go back down here, click. We can see that it changed to contact us. And now all of these should actually be linking to the correct places. So website, if you want to go to our website, here we also have our YouTube channel. As you can see, loads up there just fine. And the Facebook and the Instagram, I'm sure you guys believe me that they work, okay? All right, so now we got our nav bar in our app, okay, we have up here. So what else can we do? I was thinking our homepage is looking kind of lackluster, okay? It looks like that. So let's beef it up a little bit, okay? I was looking at the nav bar, and if you, we grabbed this top one already, this nav bar, but if you go all the way to the bottom, you can see this nice gray rectangle with a little bit of text and like a little button here to like launch something or whatever. Let's put this on the homepage, okay? And just have like a little welcome thing and some little text to explain what it is, and then have this link to our main web page that has all of our posts, okay? So let's go back to the inspect source code here. I didn't close this, so this is just, if you remember, if you just right click this and you go to view page source, you can get all the source code of this web page. Go down here, and I believe this thing down here is called a jumbotron, okay? In Bootstrap, that's what these big rectangles are called. So if you can see, it says jumbotron right here. All right, and let's just copy this main tag, and this, all this here should be this rectangle here, okay? So our home page is empty. Let's go to here. Let's go to our index, which is our home page, and right under home page, let's just paste in this main thing, and we can format the document a little bit. Let's just save this, see what it looks like. All right, refresh this. Boom. That was easy. Let's add in some line breaks here because this looks a little bit crunched, a little bit crowded, okay? So just a little break here, BR, and maybe one underneath it too, BR, cool. And let's just see what it looks like. That looks better. All right, so let's continue. Instead of navbar examples, let's write welcome. Cool. And then let's, I don't know, change some of this text a little bit, okay? Let's get one of these href tags off, and let's just paste this down here. It's for this later. I'm gonna have a link later. This p tag. Let's get rid of this. Sorry, guys. Let's just say, welcome to the Clever Programmer blog. Cool. Here we'll be talking about everything computer science. Cool. Basics, frameworks. You know what? I'm just gonna leave in typos because it doesn't matter. Frameworks, machine learning, other data science stuff, any new tech or findings, and more. Okay? And pretty much anything computer science related. Cool. Let's see what it looks like, just to make it kind of consistent. That looks better. All right, and on the second one, let's just say, go visit us at our website. And let's just have this anchor tag in here, https www.cleverprogrammer.com. Trying to talk too fast again. And say cleverprogrammer.com. All right. To check out more cool stuff beyond just blocks. Done. All right, so that settles it for that. We have our homepage. It's all nice now. We have this giant jumbotron to at least welcome people to our blog. We have a little bit of a introduction here, briefing people on what's about to happen. Very good. Nice website design. And we have a link to our website here if people want to learn more. Okay, so we have like a free 3-part masterclass, blah, blah, blah. Go back to our website. And I forgot the button, of course. So down here, we want this button to, dang, what is going on here? I don't like this formatting. Okay, so we have here, and then we'll just say go to posts. All right, so go to blog posts. Awesome. And instead of this, we don't want to link to the docs of Bootstrap. We just want to go to posts. Okay, now let's go back here, refresh. Boom, this changed to go to posts. And when we click this, it brings us to all of our posts. Awesome. So we have our nav bar plugged in. We have a nice little Jumbotron welcome page plugged in, all thanks to Bootstrap. That was pretty fast. I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. What was it, you guys? I don't know. It depends on how fast I edit it or how short I edit it down to. But yeah, let's move on. All right, so that does it for our homepage. We just finished it up. Let's go to our posts, okay? And now let's start cleaning this up, okay? So it looks okay, but I could look a lot nicer, all right? So let's start with making these blog posts look a little bit better, okay? Each one of these little blog posts, let's just clean this up and make it look more bloggy, all right? So let's go to posts, and we generate all these on our template in a loop. Remember, we generate each blog post in a loop. So our loop is down here. And let's change this. So I think if we, instead of using a header tag here, if we actually change this completely to using small tags, this is just gonna look nicer. It will make a big difference. So let's just pop this in here like this, all right? And then let's just write written by author. And then also let's add in the date, okay? The date that it was created. So remember, we have post.author. We also have post. I believe it is author and date posted, okay? So let's copy this, go back to our posts and post.date posted. And that should do it, okay? So I want to change this format, and then again, let's just copy this in case there is no author. What are we gonna do? We just paste it down here, and we can say written by, well, there is no author, so we're just gonna write unknown, all right? And then the date is required because when the post is created, it's auto-generated, so that'll always be there. And let's just format this, and let's check it out, okay? So let's go back here, and let's refresh it. And as you can see, this looks a lot nicer, okay? Let me zoom in a little bit. The website starts looking a little funky when I zoom in too far, but just to show you, so it's bigger, you can see that this was changed, okay? So it says written by the author on the time exactly, which looks a lot nicer and a little bit more clear. And it looks more like other blogs. I looked at some other blogs and they tend to have this really small. So like New York Times or whatever. But yeah, let's change, fix some of this spacing maybe. I think this could probably use a break here. Refresh this. Or whatever. And let's change some of these buttons now, okay? So let's zoom back out. Oops. Let's zoom back out, all right? And let's go to the buttons, all right? So Bootstrap is nice because it gives us a lot of like free little, actually let me show you. So Bootstrap buttons, if you guys didn't know, there are a lot of different buttons that allows us to make. And there's a nice image here. I'll just go to this. This image is good. All right, so you see this? We can add all these different buttons. So instead of just having these little blue link things with the little underline, we can actually have buttons that look like this, okay? So all it is we just inherit a class, and the class specifies all the stuff. So we have different colors. If we call it a danger button, then it'll be red. If you call it a primary button, it'll be blue. And if you call it a success button, it'll be green. So let's just go into our code, all right? And go down to the buttons here. And all we have to do here is pretty much just add in a class, all right? And this is all specified by Bootstrap, and we just want it to say it's a button, and this one, it's a delete button, so we want it to be danger, okay? Because I want it to be red, and that'll be delete. And then also down here, I want this button to be a primary. I want it to be blue, okay? Because it's an edit button, so it's kind of a neutral color. So let's go over here, back to our website, and refresh this. And as you can see, kabam, these buttons are a lot nicer, okay? So if delete and edit, it has the same exact functionality. If we hit edit, we go back here and we can edit our post. Let's go back. But that's pretty much it. Let me just clean up a little bit of the spacing with a couple more line breaks above the header and then below the time. So let's add another break here, just like that. And above the header, let's just add a break as well. It's a little sloppy, but I just want to make it look nice, okay? That's better. So we have some spacing here and spacing at the top, so each of them looks like they're a little bit detached. And actually, let's add one right before the buttons too. Oh, oops, I don't know what I clicked, but whatever. And another line break. Okay, this is actually really bad, but it's fine as long as it looks, I screwed that up. Ding, ding. I meant down here. And BR like that. And yeah, that'll do. So let's continue. All right, now that we got these buttons done, let's clean this up next, okay? So this looks a little bit like old and antiquated and outdated. So let's just update these input fields, okay? So this is in the posts. We have this hard-coded at the top, I believe, up here. That's right. So let's actually change these inputs to better inputs, okay? So let's, and we're gonna change these to real labels too, because we just have these labels just hard-coded in there. So for now, let's just put these on new lines, all right? Save that, and if we go back to here and we go down here, as you can see, there's a search bar here with a input field. I actually want to use this input field here instead of these weird rectangular ones. These ones are from Bootstrap. So I'm just going to go into the code and paste this one and then paste them in here and kind of like jank it together to get it working. So let's go to, where is this? This is in the nav bar, so this will be in base HTML, and then we'll go to, where would it be? In the nav bar, it should be at the top of body. That's right, nav bar here. Clever Programmer blog. At the bottom. Here we go. Finally found it. So this little form here is actually the little search bar. Okay, as you can see, it says placeholder search, which just means pre-populate it with the word search. And as you can see, there's a little word search here, so we know what this text box is for. So let's just take this input. Okay. This input, and we're going to copy this and paste this here and kind of splice these together, okay? So input, we already have type text, we have class, form control, placeholder, search, and all we need to do is just copy and paste name and title over, okay? So let's just paste these right here, that'll do, or actually, let's paste them right after text, right there, just like that. So title, we can completely get rid of this input, all right? Save it, go here, and placeholder, we want to have enter title instead, all right? And then this will have also enter title. Save that. Let's just see if this is working correctly. Go over here, refresh this, and as you can see, it worked. And enter title. So this looks better than author and post do, so let's do the same thing for those. Well, actually, just for author. For post, we're actually going to upgrade it even more. But let's just get this line. Copy, go down here. Same routine, except this is going to be author instead of title. All right, so form control, so text, and instead of title, it's going to be author, and placeholder will be enter author, and enter author. All right, that's nice. Cycle 1 done, cool. And now post. So the body of a blog post is usually going to be a lot longer, so I don't want to just use a regular text input anymore. I actually want to use a text area, which is going to be a huge block of input text, okay? So the way we can do that is, or the way you could go out about finding it yourself is actually just going to the Bootstrap stuff. There's a page on Bootstrap for forms, so let's just write down forms. Oops, I think I opened this in a new window. Bootstrap forms, there we go. And just click here, forms for Bootstrap. And here it gives us all of the different possibilities for creating forms using Bootstrap, all right? So let's just scroll down. This is just regular input text fields, blah, blah, blah. And if we keep going down, then right here, text area. This is what I want. A big text area with this little resizable window thing here. So we can have a long, long blog post, okay? So this is here, and it should be at the bottom of these four things. So it should be right down here. I believe it's this div, label, text area. That looks right. And let's just copy this and go over to our code and place this here. All right, so this is going to be a div. I actually don't think we need the div. Yeah, let's try to get rid of the div and just have this here. Oh, we got to change the labels too, as seen here. Why don't we do that right now? Label, get rid of that, and this is going to be post. All right, label, and it's going to be for content. All right, just like that, and then we'll do the same thing for the other two. Oops, sorry. Like that. And then just repeat this for these other two labels really quick. So this is going to be author instead. Author. And change this to author. And same thing for title. Last one is going to be title. This save for is just linking this name title to this name. Okay, so it's saying this label is for this. And title. Done. Now let's go back to the text area. So the ID here is going to be content. All right. And the name is also going to be content, I believe. And that should be it. Let's just delete this. Refresh the page. And as you can see, we have a nice big text area here, okay? Cool. Oh, and the labels too. The labels changed. It only looks a little bit different, but these are actual tables, okay? Oh, we can also actually add in placeholder here too. Placeholder, and we'll just type in content. Oops, not colon, equal signs. Refresh this, and there we go. We have a little thing there. Also, we're gonna need this just to stay consistent, and we're gonna say, oh, enter content and enter content. Boom. Refresh this. All right, and that should be it. So we are good on that. Let's just double check that this is working. Title 1 and author 1 and yo hello post. Go down here, and as you can see, it working just fine. So title 1 written by author 1 at the time, and then this, and then just delete it, and it's gone. So cool. That cleans that up. What else can we do? One thing I forgot to mention is when we add something with a different new lines and stuff, like multiple lines in the content. So like, let's say line 1 and line 2 and line 3 like this, and we post it. As you can see, the white space and all of the new lines and stuff are not preserved, are not being rendered here. So let's go in there and actually fix that, okay? So let's go to our code here, and if we go to posts where that is in the loop where the content is printed out, it's right here, post.content. Oh, we can just pop in something here, a little bit hacky, but that's okay. All we're gonna do is type in, I believe, white space, okay? And then we're gonna say, not white space, white space, and we're gonna say pre-wrap. So this, what this means is preserve the wrap, the line wrapping, okay? And let's just save this and go back here and refresh this. And as you can see, now the white space and the new lines and stuff are all preserved. So now we can actually have multiple paragraphs per blog post instead of all in just one big glob. Okay, I noticed that error earlier. I fixed it. So let's delete this. Okay, let's actually paste these in a bunch more times and save it. And so that just looks more like a blog, a little bit more. That's fine. And yeah, let's move on. All right, so next, let's go here and let's go into edit. And as you can see, let's just add in a bunch of stuff here to make it nicer. But as you can see, when we go into edit, this is still not the nice new input type. So let's make the changes here as well, okay? So we're gonna have to go into the edit web page, the edit template, and then we're just gonna copy over the form that we just did here, okay? But we need to like populate these with the existing content and whatnot. So edit, we have the form here, and this is the old form. We don't want that anymore. We want the new form that we did just now with the labels and the nice text inputs and the text area. And let's just paste this in here, okay? So now we have the new form, but remember the difference with edit is we don't want empty forms. We want to actually populate each of the text fields or text areas with whatever data is already in that blog post, okay? And that's pretty simple. It's as simple as instead of having a placeholder, okay, we're just gonna have value, and then this is just going to equal to the the previous data. So this is gonna be post.title. So the title of the post, and then we'll just copy and paste this for author as well. Post.author. And for the text area, actually a little bit different. There's no such thing as value. There's no value parameter for this tag, for text area tag. So let's delete this placeholder. All right. And what we need to do is, if you noticed, the input tags don't have closing tags. Okay, it's just the opening tag, but the text area does. That's because everything within this text tag is going to be what's inside the content. So instead of using value, we actually just paste it straight into here like this. Okay. But instead of, we don't need value, of course, but instead of title, it's going to be content. All right. And we don't need that last parentheses. Quotation marks. And I don't think there are any errors here. Yep. Oh, but this should be not post, it should be save. Because we want the button to say save instead of post. And let's just see if it worked. All right, so refresh the page. Let's hit edit. Okay. And there we go. So if we go back, we see that this is second blog post written by Aaron, and the content is, this is my second one. We go in here. This is my second one written by Aaron, second blog post. Cool. So now we can actually copy a bunch of, we can edit stuff in here. We can go on new lines, multiple paragraphs like this. Cool. And hit save. And when we come back, it's creating a new, because we're not updating it. Oops. So we need to change the URL that we are posting to. So we are actually posting to the entire post list. So we are treating it like a new post. That's why it was adding it like a new post here, okay, instead of updating an existing one. But what we need to do is actually go to edit, remember, because in our app.py, we have the route specified that when we go to edit, then to update the database and all this stuff here, and then render the template again. So we want to actually go to edit, but we also need to pass the ID of which blog post in the database to edit. If you go back in the video, the form that was here earlier, it actually had this action, okay? But I deleted the whole thing, and that's why I forgot to. I should have left it and then double check before I ran it, just make sure that I was carrying over everything and splicing them together correctly. Yeah. So we need to, I think it's post.id. I believe so. Yeah. And that should fix it. So let's delete this, okay? Go here. Refresh this and go into edit, and then do a bunch of changes like that. Hit save, and when we come back, it is now edited, okay? So we edited the content here. The title and the author stayed the same. But that is the edit functionality cleaned up as well. Cool. So when we hit edit again, we are back in this nice little area with the nice input fields. So now let's actually clean this up too. So initially we had the create a new blog post functionality here on the same page as all of the existing blog posts, the whole list, but let's actually detach this and put this in its own web page, okay? And then add like a little button or something like that says new post that we can click to go there to make a new post. And then when we save it, then it comes back here and it's added to this list, all right? So let's start by creating a new file. That's the first thing we have to do. And let's call it new post.html, all right? New post.html. So it's gonna look very similar to the edit.html, right? So let's just copy everything over from there to start, because we want all this inheritance and stuff in the head and blah, blah, blah. Let's go through all this. So we're not editing a post. We're gonna say new post. Instead of editing post, it's gonna say new post. And then it's going to say, yeah, that's fine. Well, I mean, not the edit. Let's just put new post again. I don't know what this is going to look like. Well, we can change it when we get into the website. But this form isn't what we want. This form is the edit one that has all the edit content. The form that we actually want already exists. It's right here, remember? So let's go into here and let's just take that and paste this into here like this. Cool. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's just see if it worked. Oh, because we didn't delete this yet from here, so nothing's changing. But also, this exists, but we're not linking to it anywhere. So we need to actually create a route first to actually render this template. So before we can see if this is correct, we need to go into here and create a new route. All right, so let's just copy this new app route, and this is going to be posts/new. Okay, and then we're going to allow get and post, and we're just gonna want to populate this array. I mean this method. So we need to we can actually just copy this from edit because it's going to be very similar. We don't need a specific ID of a post because we're creating a new one, so we can just skip it down to here and we can just paste this down. So if we're posting, then we actually want to create an entire new post and then push that to the list or to the database, push it to the database, and then redirect back to the list of all posts so we can see the new post that we just created. So this is very similar. I believe it's exactly the same actually. Post title, post.author. So yeah, just getting the things from the form, and then when we're creating a new blog post, we need to create the new blog post. After we get the form, we have to create the post and add it to the database before we commit. So let's go down here and then add this in here. Okay, so we get the data from the form if we're posting. From all that data, we create the new blog post, and then we add it to the database, and then we commit it, and then we redirect back to posts. Okay. Yeah, that looks right. And then when we, if we're only reading it, if we're only doing a GET request here, then we just want to render the new post.html. And we actually don't need this because there's no post being sent in. It's just raw. So like what this is going to do is this is just going to render an empty form for us to fill out. And then when we fill it out and hit post, then that's when this will fire off. Okay. So that's pretty much it. Let's see if it's working. So we are saying it's going to be, oh crap. I made all these changes on the wrong function. Let's do it down here. Oops. And then redirect the posts, and this needs to go back to edit. All right, template posts, and that is annoying. And new post.html. Okay, let's make sure there is do not show again. Yeah, that looks correct. So let's go back here and refresh this, and we said it's posts/new. Global name post is not defined. let's see what is wrong here. Yeah, I forgot to delete this here because we're not passing in a post when we're creating a new post. It's not expecting a post to come through. Then let's just get rid of that. Okay, and now it should work. So let's go back and let's go to new, and there we go. It is rendering correctly. Okay, so we have new post here. This is by itself, and now we just need to make sure everything is hooked up correctly. So let's type in test title, okay, and test author and test content, and let's just repeat this a couple times. Cool. Post, and it redirects back to our whole list, and there we go. We put in the test title, the test author, and all this test content, and it's working just fine. We can delete it too, and it's disappeared. Awesome. Now last step is we just got to get rid of this thing here because we don't need this anymore. And then we also need a button to redirect to that new web page from here so we can create a new post. All right. So let's go into our posts here, and then we can pretty much just get rid of this entire form at the top. All right. Just like that. And we don't need this HR anymore, and save that. So what does this look like? It is gone. Cool. So we have our list of all of our blog posts here. Let's change some of these titles. Oops, post is undefined. Because I deleted it from edit in here. Edit, and we got to put this back in. So I think it's posts equals what was it? Post equals post. So let's get rid of that and then paste this into there. Let's try it again. There we go. So we'll just say blog post 1, save, and we'll say change this to blog post 2, save, and change this to blog post 3. All right, it's looking a little bit more coherent. Cool. So now let's add in this button next to all posts. All right. So what I'm thinking is, remember those Bootstrap buttons? There's a green one. I want to add a little button here, right here, that says new post plus new post in as a green button, and then I just want that to redirect to our new post page. So we have some way to get to that web page from here. And then we could actually add new posts into here too if you want to, into the menu, but unnecessary. I'm sure you guys could figure it out if you guys want to do that as an exercise for yourself. So let's go to here, all posts, and then I just want to add in a button. So that's going to be, I believe, posts here, all posts. Here we go. Cool. So we have a header here, but I also want a button. So let's add a button. It's going to be a, and then it's going to be class equals button, and then it's going to be button success. If you remember, success means it's going to be green. That's the style that Bootstrap is making us do. And then we're going to want this to go to /posts/new, okay, because we want this button to go to that URL so we can input a new blog post. And then we want, oh, dang it. And then we just want new posts like that, okay? And let's just see what that looks like. So let's refresh this page, and we can see all posts. It says new post right there. That's cool, but I actually want it over here. And actually, let's make this plus new post. All right, there we go. And then I want this to be right aligned. So I believe that is, I think it's in the class. Yeah, in Bootstrap 4, you can put float right, and then it'll float all the way to the right. So let's refresh this, and there we go. Add new post. But this looks a little bit funky. So I want this and this to be on the same line, in line together. So let's pop both of these into a div together. All right, div, and kaboom, and like that, and indent both of these. All right, and then let's refresh this. Looking a bit better. I mean, not looking a bit better, but they're in a div. They're in a div together, and we actually need to get them in line. So we can just do that really quickly by adding a quick style, and then all we want to say is display inline, okay? And pretty much everything that has this style together within the same div is going to be in line together. So let's refresh this, and now it's in line. So all we need to do now is just add in a couple of line breaks to make things a little bit cleaner. All right, let's go here, refresh this, and there we go. I guess I don't think we need this one down here. Some quick spacing. Perfect. So we have all posts here, and we have a button. And as you can see, when we click new post, it brings us to the new post input area. So we can just say machine learning versus web development. All right. Blog post, this is going to be by Aaron Bernath. And we can say, what is better to pursue? Web development or machine learning or data science? Answer, both. And post it, and let's see if it worked. Machine learning versus web development, written by Aaron Bernath at this time. What is better to pursue, web development or machine learning? Answer, both. So that looks like it is all functioning, okay? So we pretty much put in a bunch of Bootstrap into this entire thing. We have a nav bar here that we chucked in. We have a nice homepage, remember? If we go here, we have this Jumbotron rectangle and some welcome text, and then a way to get to our posts here. And from here, we have all of our CRUD functionality with nice buttons and nice padding and nice containers using Bootstrap. We have the ability to separate white space to display if our texts are have multiple paragraphs in our blog posts. Within these edit fields, we have the better input fields. We have a giant text area for our editing post, and we have this new post button. So that there, guys, pretty much wraps up our Flask app. Some guy singing outside. That pretty much wraps up our Flask app with Bootstrap enabled. I think this looks a lot nicer than what we had before. But this is a nice little project to get you started if you've never used Flask before. From here, you can add on a lot of different things. You can you could really like go in depth and get this all going. You could add like a sidebar over here, and here you could add like a whole editor. So you could have like, you know how like at the top of editing of text fields, they have like the bold button and the italics button and like underline button, and then like the text size and all that. You could implement all of that and all this stuff, but that's getting more and more into front-end development and less Flask. So I think this is a good place to end it, all right? So this is our little Flask blogging app. There's no login functionality. Maybe we'll do that some other time, but I think this is a perfect amount, a bite-sized chunk to get you guys started if you never used Flask before. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in a different video. Goodbye.
Hey guys, nice job. You made it to the end of the Flask tutorial. Very proud of you guys. You made it this far. You went from completely knowing nothing about Flask and creating your basic app all the way up to having a full blogging app with Bootstrap enabled, with a beautiful front end and a back end and a database and everything. It's great. And I just want to congratulate you for completing that project. So now you have this little thing in your back pocket. You can pull it out whenever you need. But good job for getting this far. Now, if you're interested in taking things further, okay, if you like this course, then I just want to remind you that we have a 1 hour plus webinar called The 3 Secrets to Becoming a Python Freelancer in 2019 and Beyond, which basically tells you how to go from not knowing anything in coding at all, and what are the steps you can take to increase your chances, maximize your chances to having a 6-figure income as a Python freelancer, okay? It's not a guarantee you're gonna make it, okay, but it really, really increases your chances to actually get in there and making it happen if you put in the work. So we're gonna be going over the 3 secrets. Yeah, it teaches you how to land clients, how to reach out. It mentions the technical skills you're probably gonna have to learn. That's actually the easiest part. Everybody knows that. But how to reach out to clients, how to do all the soft skill things, how to negotiate and all that stuff, and the different opportunities you can pursue, and where to really direct and focus your energy and whatnot.
to actually start making income with Python and programming in general, all right? So definitely check it out. We all worked really hard on it. Just reminding you again, if you like this video, then go check that out and go check out the other videos on our channel and just stick with us and good shit will happen. And thank you for watching this course.